So here is the tea, all right? And most of this, it was channeled first. That's a whole nother story, but it was channeled first. And then I was able to go back it up and confirm everything I channeled through research. All right. So you know that Nefertiti was married to Akhenaten. Akhenaten changed his name when he came into leadership. He was born Amenhotep the Fourth. Okay. His mother and father were Amenhotep the Third and Queen Tai or Tai. I'm not familiar with her pronunciation of her name. But anyways, so their mother and father had 2 sons and 4 daughters. 2 sons, 4 daughters. The oldest boy was Tutmosis. I think it's like Tutmosis the Third. But anyways, the oldest boy, who was supposed to be the crown prince and the next one on the throne, he passed away. And that made Amenhotep the Fourth next in line for the throne because he's a boy, right? Okay, so I'm trying to go fast to make sure everything. All right, so here's how everything is set up. Well, a lot of people don't know. So when Pharaoh dies and his son takes over the throne, right? He inherits everything that his father had, right? The kingdom and all of that, along with the wives. So when Amenhotep the Fourth became king, he took his mother, basically inherited his mother as his wife, but she just basically kept her status in leadership or whatever within the kingdom. But he also inherited his sisters, who his father had also married. Now I know everybody gonna be like, but his daddy did that in a strategic way so that his daughters could still hold their status within the kingdom, right? So he married them so they could be listed as queens. Okay, so go with me. Now, next thing you know, he meets this girl Nefertiti. Now, there's no real evidence of where Nefertiti comes from. It is speculated that she came from Thebes, but there is no evidence that she came from Thebes, right? So that was not her name. Her name was not Nefertiti. Her name was Nefernin Aten. Nefernin Aten. It's gonna all come together, okay? And then he changes his name to Akhenaten. He wanted to make sure he had Aten at the end of his name. So she changes her name to Nefertiti. Okay. Now as time goes on, Nefertiti has daughters. She only bores him daughters. Okay. But with one of the other women that Akhenaten was messing with, she bore him a son. Okay. And it has been brought up through DNA evidence that it was one of his sisters because of how close it was in incest, the kind of physical issues that King Tut had because of his parents, incest or whatever, right? Child, well, here's the tea. So his sisters were never mentioned again in history after Akhenaten became king. Okay, now, which is interesting because technically they still held their status, their crown as queens. But of course, Akhenaten chose Nefertiti to be his favorite. Okay. Now, King Tut was not raised in the house with his daddy. Okay. He was not raised in the house with his daddy. And there is a body that was found close to Amenhotep the Third, daddy. And when it was found in 1898, they thought it was a man because the head was shaved, right? But of course they didn't have the technology like that back then, right? And the head was shaved. But now, of course, through DNA evidence and all of that, they looked at the autopsy of the body and found out it was a woman, but her head was shaved. And I'm like, whoa, time out. Wait, what? So she is buried in a tomb, nice sarcophagi and everything. And it's not a man, it's a woman, and the head is shaved. You already know how important your crown is, okay? And how that connects you to the divine source. So I was like, that's diabolical. Then come find out what her autopsy, what she died from was a blunt force trauma to the face, because all her jaw and all of this was that's what she was. Yeah, that's what she was unalive with. So I was like, So Her autopsy report is that blunt force trauma to the face, and then the head was shaved so that when the body was found, they would think it was a dude and not as a woman. I was like, that sound intentional. That sound real intentional. Then I was like, they don't really know. They don't know who King Tut's mother was. And I was like, I wonder if Nefertiti had that woman off because that woman bore him a son, and herself, Nefertiti, was not able to bear him a son who would be next in line for the throne. I keep going. Stay with me now. Don't leave. Next thing you know, I'm like, But if you read about her reign with Akhenaten, everything like they did. So when she came into the relationship with him is when Akhenaten decided to do away with the worship of the old gods. Okay. With Amun-Ra, with Anubis, as most people know him, with Thoth, with closed the temples and banned and made it against the law for people to worship and still do all that to the old gods. Now they had to praise their new and only one God at 10. And only her and Akhenaten were the only high priest. So the only messages that were coming from this God only came from them. Suspect. And it's written in history that nobody in society was down with what they were doing and was really against how they banned and closed all of the temples and whatnot, right? So like I said, I was like, diabolical. And is mighty interested that his sisters was written out of history and don't nobody know what happened to them. So King Tut becomes Pharaoh, right? At the age of 9. Okay, at the age of 9 after his father dies. Well, Nefertiti was still alive. But at the age of 12, which is considered to be a man at the age of 12. At the age of 12, he, number one, brought back the worship of the old gods. Worship of the old gods, opened back all the temples and all of that. Nefertiti mysteriously died. Goes missing. Okay, because we don't know if she was, or just went on to glory. We don't know all we know was that she missing and she was never found. That same year that happened is when he changed his name, because he was born Tutankhaten, behind his father because of the god Aten or whatever, and changed his name to Tutankhamun, so that he could bring back the worship of the god Amun-Ra. I was like, if you put that on the timeline on the same year, he brought back the worship of the old gods, which his mother probably practiced. Changed his name because he did not want to be associated with his father or that god that they brought in. And Nefertiti's body is missing and is never to be found. Sounds like to me that somebody got justice for what happened to their mama. And it's in the papyrus, it's in hieroglyphs how she was a tyrant ruler. And how it's in many of the papyruses how she would go and do offerings and rituals and worship to Aten even without Akhenaten. She was... So, I mean, it's easy to say that Aten came from her. This whole change in leadership and how society moved about, because Akhenaten started building a city 200 miles away from where they were with the slaves of children to this god.